Welcome to the NYREJ Podcast. I'm your host, Rick Kaplan. My guest today is Scott, and I'm going to attempt to say your last name, Scott. Baryyiewski?
It's actually pronounced Baryiewski. My whole life, everybody has pronounced it Baryiewski because that's the way it's spelled. So let's go with it. Either way, I respond.
Okay. I'm good at butchering names, so I'm glad that everyone else is following my suit. And
I wish I could blame you on this one, but this one's not your fault. I think that my family must have mispronounced it. Way back in the day.
Okay. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Scott.
Yeah. So I'm the owner of South Shore Construction. The company's been around since 1981. So it was originally started by a family member of mine, an uncle, he and his partner. And I started working for the company back in 2005 when I graduated from college and went to Montclair State University, went for business, and was approached by my uncle. Actually, his partner that he started the company with had retired the year prior, and he was looking for somebody to come and help learn how to, run the company and allow him a little bit more free time to step back and, enjoy the fruits of his labor. Right. So I came in and I've been, learning the business and running it ever since. I've been doing it 18 years now. So, and here I am, reasonably successful business here in New Jersey.
Now, you've been around about 23, 24 years?
No longer, actually. That puts us at 91, 2001, over 30 years.
Over 30 years. Okay.
Yeah. Over 30 years we've been around.
So you should know what you're doing by now, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm proud to say that we have a great reputation in the business of, building facade and parking garage restoration. Customers who work for us, engineers that work with us, have great things to say. So feel proud about that. And, looking to continue for many more years because I'm a young guy and, still trying to grow and be more successful.
Now let's talk about parking car. Excuse my accent because everyone comments on that because I'm from Boston, born and raised. So let's talk about parking garages. Okay. Sure. Because that's a big thing right now, especially since what was it, Ohio, that they had one that collapsed, and then they had other buildings that are collapsing because they haven't taken the time to do the maintenance to make sure that they are structurally sound. So let's talk about that. Are you getting a lot of calls for people trying to make sure that their facilities are structurally sound now?
Well, yes and no, right? So the thing is, we're always getting a lot of calls just because we've, built a reputation in this area. We're also connected with a lot of different networking groups related to all types of building managers and building owners and things of that nature, right? So we've also built relationships with engineering firms that put together the inspections and the plans in order to go out and bid on large size projects, right? So we're always busy because of that. But the reality is there's actually probably less phone calls that we're getting than we should be, right? Considering some of the stuff that is out there in the news. I feel like people always look and they believe that wow, that's something that can happen to somebody else's garage, but not my garage. And there's not enough inspection that takes place at their own facility to repair and maintain their garage because there's really no laws in place that require them to do so.
Now, I understand that. I think that those laws are probably going to be changing because of some of the collapses that have been going on. But you also do some of the other retrofits or maintenance for other parts of the construction of the properties, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So we also focus on building facades. So the exterior buildings, mostly like concrete and masonry buildings that are aging, they're getting older. Some of the materials are deteriorating, which is something that happens in general, just from weather exposure to the Northeast here, right? So we have hot, cold, we have rain, we have snow, we have ice, we have wind, we have everything, and materials unfortunately can't last for forever, right? Depending on the type of materials you're talking about, you could be looking at somewhere between 10 years and 30 years of life you're going to get out of stuff. So we get involved in a lot of different buildings where we're refurbishing structural portions of the exterior of buildings. We're making them look nicer. We're applying different sort of protective membranes to extend the life of the real estate buildings that many of these owners own and managers manage.
Now, in the Northeast here, we had a lot of our major buildings were built with brick.
Mhm.
And now brick tends to last quite a long time, quite a bit of a long time. Is that something that if they don't take that time to maintain it, you're going to have that destruction of it collapsing as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody sees cracks in brick, cracks in the mortar joints. The mortar joints over time deteriorate, and they start to almost revert back to like a sandy nature as they start to get old, right? And a lot of it has to do with moisture, right? Water getting inside of these things, and just over time, creating problems. There's also a lot of different sort of steel that is in these brick structures. We call them shelf angles or lintels in our industry, and these are the things that span the window and door openings. So that way, you can actually have, I mean, obviously the brick can't float there above a window, right? So there has to be something there to support it. And many times there's pieces of steel there that rust and start to lose their strength and need to be replaced. Otherwise, you're going to have a collapse of the facade.
So how many times in a period of 20 years should someone have someone like yourself or your company come and do some touch-ups or repairs to their property? Should they
So
have
that's
a regular maintenance program?
Yeah, well, so that's kind of a tough question because it really depends on the age of your building and the construction of your building, right? So, I mean, if your building's brand new, I'd say, like, unless you have faulty construction from the onset of the building, you probably don't need to look at it for 10 to 15 years before you really start having some things that need to be replaced and repaired. Now, if you have a building that's 20 years or more, the odds are, if you haven't already done some of it, that you need to be reviewing your brick. You need to, for like cracked brick, failed brick, spalled brick, meaning like the faces are popping off of them. You need to be reviewing different caulk joints at windows and other places throughout there. Any deteriorated concrete. Obviously there could be like roofing membranes and things of that nature. So all those things start to really start show signs of aging around a 20-year plus mark. And if you, I guess the straight answer to you is, if you can't remember the last time you've had something like this, it probably should be done.
Now, do you offer any type of a maintenance program to property owners? Because you say they should look and see what might be deteriorating and then give you a call. And a lot of times that's what they do. They wait until that part of the building collapses and then they give you a call. But do you have a maintenance program that they could go on that you would be the guy that would go out and make sure that everything is looking sound?
Well, I wouldn't say I have a maintenance program per se, because it's hard to come up with an exact program for each individual building due to because the heights are different, all the dimensions are different, the types of building materials are different. So it's kind of hard to do like some sort of a one size fits all. We definitely come out for anybody who calls and look at things and help them price things. I mean, the reality of this business is that, it takes an expert maybe to know how to fix the problem, but most of the time it doesn't take an expert to identify the problem, because these things are very apparent and in your face, right? So you're seeing something where you see, like I was saying before, there's cracks or there's spalls or there's material like the caulk that should be in joints that's missing, or you could clearly see that it's no longer adhered. Waterproof coatings or paints that are peeling off of the wall. Those kind of things are very apparent. Biggest issue that we face is that the work that we're doing isn't fun and sexy, right? So meaning like when owners redo their lobby or put an amenity space in their building like a gym for the people or do something like that, it's something that they could see that there's going to be some sort of an ROI off of that. Their actual building, even though, it's like the most important thing because that's your real estate. That is your business, is the building, right? And people know that. But the whole thing is like when you fix when you fix the brick and fix the mortar, nobody's giving you more rents for that. So that's the biggest challenge we face.
Well, if the building collapses, they don't get any more rent. That's one incentive they should have. So
Yeah.
when you said the like the facade,
Mhm.
I know now that we're in the 21st century. They use like a material that's like a half a brick, or they
Mhm.
don't use really the brick material. It looks like it, but it's not. Is that something that you do?
Yeah, I mean that mostly gets done on like new construction buildings these days. A lot of what we focus on is repairing existing buildings. So that's called a thin brick, right? There's basically some sort of a mat that gets fastened to the wall, and then these bricks get which are like you're saying, they're only about half the thickness. They get glued to that thing, and then mortar in between them, and then it looks like it's real brick, even though it's a thin brick, right? But because that's a lot newer in nature and a lot less prominent, you don't find that kind of stuff coming up in my world because we're fixing buildings that are usually much older than that before people started building with those sort of things. And so we're actually fixing buildings that are like full size real bricks. But maybe as time goes on and there's more of that, that's something that's going to pop up.
Now, what size building? You say you do different size, you work on different size buildings.
Mhm.
What's the highest you will go to do repairs on a building?
Well, the highest we'll go to do repairs. I mean, we've done buildings in the 30 plus stories in Jersey City. Um, in New Jersey, I think some of the tallest buildings I know of are around 50 to 55 stories in that range, but most of the buildings are much less than that in New Jersey. We don't go into Manhattan ourselves. That's its own marketplace. It's kind of its own animal operating there in Manhattan. So we let the people that operate there day in and day out, have that. And we work on a lot of different buildings that are normally like, I would say mid-rise, right? So you're talking about somewhere that might be 5 to 20 stories. This is probably more likely what I would find here in New Jersey. But we would handle larger buildings if it came across our nose.
So what area do you cover as far as where you'd go for work?
So we do all of New Jersey. We go to Eastern PA, so you're talking about places like Easton or Bethlehem, places that are not too far off of the New Jersey border, and then we'll go into other places in New York that are more of some of the suburbs, rather than the heart of Manhattan.
Okay, so if someone was interested in finding out more about your company, where would they go to find that? What's your website?
The website is www.ssc.contractors, plural. If you wanted to reach out to me directly, you could send me an email to scottb@ssc.contractors. And I just want to clarify, there's no .com at the end of that. That's a question I get all the time because people are surprised by the contractors as the finish there, right? So they always want to add the .com, and then they call me up. Hey, the email didn't go through. Did you put the .com? They're like, yeah. Nope, leave it out.
I never saw that before either.
Yeah, that's what I keep getting.
Yeah, that's unusual.
I guess when I was trying to set up my my website, so many things related to my company name were taken. I tried a million different variations, so I had to start playing, including like .com, .net, all different names, So we ended up landing at .contractors was the way we could get it to go through. We wanted it to be simple and easy to remember.
Now, before we go, do you do ground up construction?
We don't do ground up. We only do repairs to existing buildings.
Okay. And mainly concrete and brick, or you do work with steel and wood as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We do work with steel, right? So mainly it's concrete and brick buildings, and the underlying structure is steel, right? So plenty of the buildings we get involved with, especially when it comes to the parking garages, we get involved with reinforcing steel, replacing beams, and doing things like that of that nature, where there's corroded steel that needs to be either replaced or reinforced in order to make sure that there's structural integrity there.
That's great. So I want to thank you, Scott. We're talking with Scott Baryyiewski. Yeah, I might have changed the version a little again. I'm trying to get it the way you like it to be sounding. And he is with South Shore Construction in New Jersey. And again, I want to thank you, Scott. And
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
oh, you're welcome. And you're listening to the NYREJ podcast, and I'm your host, Rick Kaplan. Until next time.